Let's go into Monday.
Yeah, so Triple H, Stephanie, and Seth Rollins come out. They say SummerSlam is going to be 4 hours long. They set up a few matches. Dean Ambrose versus Big Show. Paige versus Sasha Banks. And then John Cena came out. He calls Seth a poop head. And, these are the wrong notes.
The wrong notes.
That's just a little funny bit for you guys out there, you wrestleheads.
All right, so Shenmue 2 broke his nose in a match against Big Show. And no.
Oh, man. Okay.
I started off at 7 in the morning. I just want to put that out there.
So you watched Shenmue 2. I did not. So I'm going to let you take the wheel here.
Oh, it's fast. Ready? I was eating my oatmeal. I turn it on. The guy does the joke where he says, this is the hardest part in the game.
Okay.
And then he said, what's going on? He pretended like his controller wasn't working. And turns out that it's a fight you lose on purpose where a bunch of guys beat you up. Gonna have to work harder at your swerves if you want out of the 6:30 a.m. slot, my man. 2 out of 5 stars.
Wow. You are not sugarcoating anything.
No, I'm just, they call me the king of mean. Telling it like it is. Brutally honest. That's what my friends say about me. Brutally honest.
No, yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, granted, I watched this poor man only play like 5 minutes of Shenmue 2, but I didn't need to see more.
All right, so the next one that we both reviewed was Tetris, the Tetris block. There were several Tetris games lumped into this, and I'm going to let you also take the wheel on this one.
Yeah, so this starts Monday, in the evening. And full disclosure, my wife wants to watch the Bachelorette finale, and so do I, while this is going on. So I'm watching Tetris on my iPad while the Bachelorette's competing for my attention on the screen, right?
Okay.
One of the donators called Tetris the greatest video game ever made before the run starts.
I agree with that.
I agree with that as well, with the exception of Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, right? True.
Which, right. But, great game. There's like a 30-minute setup, and my hype levels are getting high because I like a Tetris. I like me a good, how are they doing that, Tetris? And they introduced the group that's going to play all these Tetris games. This is the TGM crew. Yeah,
this was standing room only. There were people crouched on the aisles trying to get a glimpse of this this spectacle.
This I call them some type of Tetris collective. These runners,
the Tetris LLC.
Yeah, exactly, the Tetris LLC, and they seem to be like. I like the idea of it. It's like these cats just love Tetris so much. They get together every week. They have a Tetris club. They share Tetris ideas. It's like the modern version of old men playing chess in the park, but they're playing Tetris.
They're like, what if instead of 4 blocks, there were 5?
Yeah.
And then they all get the hell out.
T-spin your way out of here, bub. That's what they tell them. So this starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am mesmerized by what is happening on the screen. These eggheads are trying to explain the techniques, and it's all going over my head. I don't care. Everything's Greek to me that they're saying, but I am enthralled.
You're like, Z-shaped Tetris blocks, L-shaped Tetris blocks? Whoa, keep it in the lab, scientists.
I had a moment where I actually looked over at my wife, who's in the Bachelorette, right? She's in the Bachelorette, and I said, "Are you seeing this?" Pointing to my iPad. Showed her the Tetris.
Oh, so your wife got the big screen and you got the iPad.
Yeah,
These are the sacrifices you got to make when you get married, kids.
Right.
This is why I'm willingly single. I'm just kidding. I'm not willingly, but go ahead. Exactly. Sorry to interrupt.
No. And I said, "Are you seeing this, right? Are you seeing this?" And she said, "That's crazy," and went back to her laptop and Bachelorette.
That's the other side of it, is you have to watch on the iPad, but she humors you.
Right, exactly.
The least committed way possible.
But normally when I do it with the speed run, I just get an eye roll. This one that's crazy. So I made a note here. Finally a speed run I could show my dad.
They say the N64 is a fabled console. That is a fabled recommendation for speedrunning.
I thought so. And I'm at the edge of my seat. This run is going back and forth, right? It's a race to get to level 99.
Mm-hmm.
And the one guy goes to the very top at one point with his column. and he gets it down. Ugh. I don't know how the Bachelorette's gonna match this excitement. What's my note?
Now, Bachelorette, that's not the one with Juan Paul, right? Juan Paulo? That was the Bachelor.
No. That was the Bachelor.
Okay.
This isn't a Bachelorette discussion. This is a SGDQ discussion. I mean, we can get into that in our separate podcast.
Okay, that's right.
So QLex does it. He gets level 99 and a standing ovation.
Oh, wow.
The room is hot as heck.
The roof came off the place.
Oh, yeah, it blew off. It's, good to see. Standing room only, after the darkness that happened on Sunday during the Crash Bandicoot run, it was good to see SGDQ bounce back on the backs of the Tetris runners.
Yeah. Positivity.
Yeah, and I would go as far. Hot take. This might start a Tetris Renaissance.
Wow.
This might start a Tetris movement. It might be you might be seeing Tetris shirts and the Hot Topic soon. It might be back in culture soon. It's due for a comeback.
People on Imagure are going to dress their dogs as the Z-shaped Tetris block and then put it under things that it'll fit with.
That would be good. I would do that to my dog. So, I mean, what did you think of that first bit of Tetris?
All right. Well, this is I'm going to have to answer your question with a story.
Okay.
And I'm going to say here that there are two pivotal moments in my life that made me into the person I am today. The first was when my brother told me that the audience in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show was the recording because nobody would willingly sit through the show. And the other was when I played Tetranet at the tail end of my formative years. You see, I played it with a group of people I met playing some other game, and it was a relatively safe group of Tetris players, and we exchanged wins and losses fairly regularly. Then, one day, I joined a random match.
No, never do that in Tetris.
The things I saw poisoned my mind forever, and I became irreparably changed because of it. I gazed upon the face of God, and it was he who spat in my face. So I didn't assign any rating to the Tetris block because I was too busy foaming at the mouth.
Thinking of that memory.
Yes.
Ouch. Wow. I mean, I have...
So it's not on the runners, it's on me.
It's on you. Yeah. So you're smart enough to realize that you can't put aside your bias to properly rate Tetris.
I couldn't even focus.
Wow. You missed out, man. I have 8 pages of notes on Tetris that I'm sparing you from.
No, man, you could go to town. I'm sure it seemed to be one of the runs that people recommended, but just like I said, it just destroyed my mind. I all these memories came flooding back. And I'm like, no.
It's like PTSD, post-traumatic Z-block syndrome. All right, so
great,
great joke. I'm gonna go Crash Bandicoot now. All right, so there's a note that they do the doubles run, right, where 2 guys control 2 Tetris blocks coming down at the same time, and they have to work together. And I said that they're working like doctors in an ER. They're like yelling like clear and hold, and it's just like exciting. It's palpable, the excitement in the room. The teamwork going on.
I'm sweating right now just by hearing you describing this.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm blown away. I said at one point, I'm like, this is wild. I don't believe in magic, but these guys are certainly wizards. At one point, the commentator says, they claim there are 5 humans in the world capable of this. We are witnessing 2 of them live in person. They had a time estimate of deadliest at one point, to my point.
Mm-hmm.
They were after my heart.
The Octodad.
Right, exactly. I don't like the zany dad memes sometimes, but I was enjoying it here because I was oohing and on. Their stacks were disappearing and they were dropping blocks. My one takeaway, my one negative note, the runners racing are a little too chummy. They should taunt and trash talk a lot more. That's it. And I deducted a 0.25, giving Tetris a 4.75 out of 5.
Wow. That is a very good rating from Chris.
That's very high.
Wow.
Will we look back on it in years and say, I rated it too high? Yet to be seen. I don't think so, though. I think this was a moment. And I have one final note. I said I came here a Tetris fan. I left wanting to become a Tetris Grandmaster. It was an inspiring performance. It made me want to play Tetris.
Wow. That's what GDQ's all about, is resurrecting these gems and then making you want to play them all over again like it's the first time.
Exactly. So I'm at the highest of highs, right? The highest of highs.
Okay.
And then they go into Zelda Twilight Princess.
Yes. Go right ahead. I did not watch this one either because I was in the urgent care after seeing Tetris again.
You were turning into a T block on the operating table. So
they said this guy's got Tetris fever. Oh wait, that's Mario fever. It was an HMO. This guy didn't know, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just said that they had the unfortunate fate of being a 3.5-hour run after a rip-roaring 2 hours of Tetris grandmastering.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of rolling going on Link's part, and I rolled right to bed. 2 out of 5 stars.
How much did you watch of this?
12 minutes.
You probably shouldn't rate it based.
I'll give it a no. I'll give it a no. I'll give it an NA.
Okay, good. Our integrity's maintained, even though the last run. I'll save it. But
right. So that was it for me on Monday.
Right. The next one that we'll be reviewing is Star Wars on the NES, and there was very little to be had, for me at least, in the way of like taking notes on his run. The real highlight, and this was pointed out to us courtesy of Blab, was that he sang a song at the end, and he played a guitar. And I have that here for us, so let's give it a listen.
World record, here we come. Let's not just spoke too soon just then, cause RNG screwed me over again. I really just want to reset. Stumbling over the words to say, and chat keeps asking, is this a let's play? I know I'll never play like the test.
All right, so that was just a snippet of the song. There was a lot more, but in that brief period of time, he talks about RNG, a lot of the other memes from typical speedrunners, and he, of course, goes out of his way to zing Let's Plays.
Were you hurt? Were you hurt when he zinged the Let's Plays?
Yes, but I understand why. You see, Chris, we're the establishment, right? In the Star Wars universe, we're the Death Star, all right?
Right.
And the speedrunners are the emerging rebels led by Luke Speedwalker. Laughing at my own joke. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So I get it. I get why they had to have an enemy, right? So they say whenever the speedrun goes bad, they say, "Oh, is this a Let's Play?" And it's derisive. And I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't hurt, because obviously we consider ourselves Let's Players, and we're trying to break into the speedrunning community. Except we just can't find that good, easy game that I could start attaching to our Twitter account and then being featured on Speedruns Live.
We just can't get through that glass ceiling.
No. So while they view people like us, the enemy, we're two sides of the same coin to me. I mean, we talk over video games. They play the same video game endlessly, and as a result, they come up with the worst memes I've ever heard in my life based off of playing a game for 40 hours a week. And listen, I can't help the way I feel.
You're getting fired up.
I can't help the way I feel. You know, he comes into my yard and he's playing a guitar. He creates chords for it, as is my understanding of what you do to have guitars play.
The route runners create the chords.
Oh, that's a fair point.
And then they have the robots play the chords, and then the speedrunner plays the song.
You know, I just can't help but get a little mad when the John Mayer of speedrunning goes out of his way to pee in my cornflakes, as they say.
He was certainly the John Mayer of speedrunning. He made me want to run through the halls of SGDQ and scream at the top of my lungs. That's a John Mayer lyric.
He will become an important figure later.
Will he?
Yes. He comes back.
I just saw the song, and like you emailed it to me, and I'm like, oh no. And I watched it, I'm like, oh no. And I turned it off. I didn't take a note.
Wow.
I couldn't handle it. I was already at that point. This is only Tuesday. And I'm like, oh no, here we are. This is I'm starting to break, right? The GDQ events get to me every year.
This is usually when the cracks start to show in
Right.
the idea of trying to do this. I thought it'd be easier this year by just doing less, but not so.
No, this was the first thing to really get to me, though.
So after this was the Mega Man X2 race. This one, wow. I have here, this was the run I was most hyped for. I love the big guy, Caleb, ever since are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that you or a dog? It sounds like
me.
you're having a hernia. Are you moving a couch while you're doing this?
For a second, I was, sitting like one of those corpses that sit on the couch at SGDQ.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw Mega Man 2 was running, I was taking a sip of water.
Okay.
And I got a little worked up.
Okay.
Because I was excited as well.
I'm not sure if that picked up, but if it didn't, I'll let it out. But I love the big guy, Caleb, ever since I started watching his streams regularly a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so you're a
Caleb
recent
head.
Caleb. Yeah, recent Caleb convert.
Caleb Hart, for those who don't know, is the twice over world record holder for this very game, Mega Man X2, in this category, which is any percent. So what the twice over record holder means is that Caleb set the record for Mega Man X2 and then the next day beat that time. And I was there for it. It was amazing. The chat went nuts. Needless to say, the couch was wrecked.
How much did that guy that donates like $500 every day to him donate during that?
Caleb has
record?
several guys who donate upwards of $500 to $1,000 to him, like several times per week.
He's that good.
He's that good. He's that good. I'm not mad about it. People can spend their money the way they want. And if it goes to anybody, I'm glad it's Caleb, semi-legitimately, because I think that he's a good guy. I'm not going to make any bones about it. There's no irony here. I legitimately like Caleb.
I agree. I legitimately like him. I like that he's swole. I like that, he's in his backyard during this race, right? He's from that area, the Wisconsin area or whatever.
As far as I know, it's hard to tell with the chat. The chat is constantly trying to troll him by giving him hundreds of dollars.
That's a good way to troll somebody.
Yeah,
why does nobody troll us like that?
Yeah,
why does nobody
I don't know.
I want escalating ironic donations on my chat. So you were really excited. So was I. I am also a Caleb head. So much so I was doing push-ups in preparation. I just want to let you know that.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you set this part up? I think I know where you're going.
I was in 40 minutes before the run. The run took a long time to set up for whatever reason. And I was just hyped up. I was like, you know what? I haven't worked out today either. I'm going to start doing push-ups. Yeah, I'm like mid push-up and they start singing the national anthem. I was like, is this a joke? What's going on? And I like fell. Like I fell onto my stomach, like in the push-up position. I lost it completely. And I look up and I see everyone standing and doing the national anthem.
This is amazing because I have here that the audio came back in and they're singing the national anthem with a question mark. Bonesaw was holding the flag up on the screen, and he's Canadian, and I'm like, is this a joke?
And he's got the same reaction I did.
And they had the guy who sang the song about speedrunning, the Star Wars, that guy.
Yeah.
They had him sing the national anthem, and I wrote here, hell, it's better than Roseanne.
Hell. I loved it. I'm like, I was over the moon for the national anthem. I was like, this is exactly what SGDQ needs. They need to treat it like a real sporting event when there's a big race. This was, the biggest race of the week. And they had a guy introducing the runners, right?
I was flabbergasted by this. Whoever suggested this, and they only did it for this run, and it was like, what, on Wednesday or something?
Right. I mean, we love our country. I mean, we were standing too.
Yeah. I took off my hat.
I was mostly resting between sets, but yeah.
Well, trying to depart from that, I have here that one of the commentators passive-aggressively noted that I think we know who our best players are, as one guy is like 4 seconds behind. And I said, I hope Caleb wins and power bombs these smarmy announcers through a table.
Oof, I agree.
But then Caleb hit a spike.
Yeah, I fell again.
I said, I am dejected. Much like Crash Bandicoot, I want to kill myself.
Wow. I would say I was that hurt as well. This is my wife makes her second appearance of the week in SGDQ during this point. Afterwards, I'm telling her how peeved I am that Caleb has hit a spike and I was going to lose. And she asked me, she says to Ann Ass, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know how much that meant to you. Maybe he has time to get it up."
Not the first time your wife said that. I get it.
I loved it, you know. I loved it. I like it.
You threw it up. You threw up the softballs for me.
Yeah, you took it. So she saw how visibly upset I was.
I was like legitimately crestfallen here, and I'm like, I want to turn it off.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes that are, I have like 10 bullet point notes that basically say, I'm sick to my stomach, sick as a dog, disgusting.
I was going through the stages of grief. I'm like, he has some ways to recover time. He can get the God Centipede, where the tail for the Centipede man spins around forever and it makes the fight faster. He didn't get it.
To your point of this, I took note of an IM message I sent you that says, does Caleb have any strats he can use to catch up? Any shooting for the moon type stuff? Please give me some hope. You said, maybe the Centipede man.
This is like a crisis on my side. Like, no.
It was.
Because he died on the spikes, and nobody else had died at that point. So he was basically playing as well as he could ever since then, but it didn't matter because nobody made a mistake like that, and there's just no way to recover from that. That's kind of a downfall of the races, right? Is that
right?
It then became a contest for number 2, which I wrote down here. This is a race for number 2. Our forefathers must be spitting in their graves for the national anthem to be played for this. Also for the flag to be handled by a Canadian.
It's true. It was a race. It was disgusting, and I even said, they were reading donations. I'm like, how can you read donations at a time like this? It's like telling a tasteless Crash Bandicoot joke at a funeral.
Good run for notes, bad run for America.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There was one point I noted, there was one highlight. There was, one ray of light in the middle of the storm. After some boss, Caleb stops to fist bump the other runner. I said he's a true pro. It's like Bird giving Magic dap after a hustle play. In the 80s basketball.
Oh, okay. I only know video game stuff, so I'll make sure that reference checks out.
Which, that's why you like the music they play so much in between the runs of the video game music.
Yep. I only wish that they remixed it. I know there's some good remix MIDI sites out there I could send their way. But,
yeah, me too.
My note here is that Caleb comes in second place 40 seconds behind first. I throw my computer out the window and renounce speedrunning. But then I guess I had to change of heart here because I still respect Caleb in spite of this, and also in spite of the fact that he eats pizza during his gain period, and also thinks that humans store more fat during the winter, a la bears and squirrels. 3 stars, a star being added for the national anthem.
All right, well, I had a little bit of a hot take here. I said, Caleb took second. I wish no harm to Trogdor. I'm not saying he's a bad runner. He's a great runner. He won. But I have a sneaky suspicion that he hacked Caleb's cart. That spike seemed like it was a pixel over more than it normally was.
These are bold accusations. And we're not saying that they're true. It's just, there's a little bit of a hunch going on that there may be some shenanigans.
I don't see Caleb making such a rookie mistake like that, especially in his own backyard. I think Caleb and the rest of the runners, BJ, Snoopy Poop, and Clarinet... and Tonic deserve a rematch.
Bacon Lord.
I think they deserve a rematch because, might have been some shenanigans there. I can't prove it, but let's see it again. Let's do it best out of 7. You know what I mean?
Caleb is the twice over world record holder for this game. He has nothing to prove. At the same time, I at least wanted a strong contest for first, not for second.
Right, for sure. But I gave this, in spite of everything, 4 out of 5 stars. And you know why? Because I had stakes. I cared.
It's a fair point.
AGDQ should do more to make me care about the runners the way I care about Caleb.
A lot of Caleb puts in work outside of AGDQ or the GDQs, right? Mm-hmm. So, that maybe more speedrunners need to put in work. I know they stream and stuff, but nobody streams quite the way Caleb does.
With a couch in the background.
Right. And guests constantly filtering in and out of his house, and he has to explain what speedrunning is to them. And then we just see these headless bodies standing there with their arms crossed, silently watching him. Those are my favorite parts.
Yeah, me too. Or when there's a pretty girl that comes on in the chat, acts like a dang,
They've never seen a girl before in their life.
It's fun. His stream can get fun.
It is. It's like a house party.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And it seems like there's a house party going on at his house. So
the post game.
You started to turn it off. You were gonna throw your computer out the window. I think you told me you were going to bed.
I was going to bed to angry, which they say you shouldn't do.
Right. They say talk it out before you go to sleep.
But luckily, you were still watching.
I was, and I saw something happening. I saw all the runners from the Mega Man run going to the panel to talk post game, and I quickly told Judge. I said, "Get it back on. Turn it back on."
I did. I rushed back to watching it, and I saw that Caleb had a shirt with bacon written on it, and I said, "I'm still staying strong." It was hard. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this play. This is the moment that it all turned around for me. So
this is a question on the panel.
This is a question on the panel. The 3 speedrunners from Mega Man were there being interviewed, and this question is asked.
Another question for you guys. What is your favorite cheese?
Like my favorite type of cheese?
Favorite type of cheese.
Oh, yeah. Smoked Gouda.
Yeah. BJW, what about you?
I like cheese 05.
Cheese 05?
Cheese
yeah.
05,
That's a great comment.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheese 05, let's go to another race right now. So the SM64...
The guy choked on being able to name a cheese.
Caleb says smoked Gouda. A fine cheese. A fine answer.
A good answer. A strong answer.
A strong answer. It wasn't like the obvious, the cheddars.
The Swiss or something.
The Swiss. And then they go to the other guy.
Who couldn't.
I said, I didn't, I don't, see, I don't know what he said. My note says he named some type of robot cheese.
A robot monkey cheese.
I just assumed it was some type of video game item. Judge knew what it was.
Well, I guess I understood him at the time, and he was naming a speedrunner named Cheese. He couldn't name a cheese. There's so many cheeses in the world. You got Limburger, you got Parmesan, you got smoked Gouda, you got American, you got Swiss cheese, you got Munster cheese, you got government cheese. Come on. Just come on.
Velveeta cheese.
Velveeta. Do you think he's
cheese
embarrassed? You think he was embarrassed because Velveeta was his favorite, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the business from those men drinking coffee."
I don't even think it was. I think it was like he doesn't even know what Velveeta. It's like he just takes those cheese sticks.
String cheese. There's another.
Yeah, string cheese. He just takes string cheese and puts them like in between 2 pieces of bread and eats it. That's my vision. That's my vision of him eating cheese in his life. I don't know.
I just sometimes it's hard for me to relate to these speedrunners, not only because they spend hours playing the same game over and over again, but apparently they've never eaten cheese in their life.
Just get out and try a cheese. You're in the cheese
the capital
up there.
The capital of America. The cheese, the land of 10,000 lakes.
Exactly. I like to think that Caleb took them out
10,000 cheeses.
Yeah. They ate a walleye and then they ate a cheese wheel and a beer.
It sounds like a good time to me.
He cultured them a little bit. I like to think after that. This made me angry as heck. This made me so angry that I went to bed, right? And I was like, I did not sleep well My Fitbit told me I had 2.5 hours of good sleep. 2.5 hours.
Wow, you were angry by the cheese.
Well below the recommended 8 hours for an adult male and my 10 hours PB. I didn't like it.
Wow. I gave this 4.5 stars out of 5 just because it redeemed Caleb in my eyes, because he just listened to like his cadence on that. He's like, "Oh, smoke Gouda." It's just like it was like he was waiting for him to ask that, and that's just a sign of a good entertainer.
It is. He didn't hesitate for a second.
Nope.
Not 1 second.
Man knows his favorite cheese. I didn't mean to sigh. I'm just lacking oxygen here, because up next is a heart racing game, which is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse by the Sound Defense.
All right, so we on Wednesday or Tuesday at this point?
It doesn't matter. All right, so this is a game for horned up young men. This a lot of sex A visual game images. I'm going to admit I don't quite get this game. Maybe somebody in the chat can explain it for us, but I reviewed this game mostly as a way to set up the fact that in your day job, you kind of work with somebody who's a big fan of these games. So I wanted to see what the hype was all about. And
right now, I don't know this person personally, but they sit by me at my day job, and I once overheard them explaining to someone at work that they explained this really long joke that was really funny in the game about how Shantae finds the other Shantae pirates, and they all have different colors, and they like don't know which one's the real Shantae. And then they all like joke that they're the same Shantae, and he tells it, and he kept laughing the whole time he told us. And he's saying it exactly like I'm saying it now. That's why I'm not. You're right. And then he kept laughing the whole time. And I said, this game just sounds like the worst. This sounds like the worst game ever. And I didn't want to watch the speedrun because of it. It was tainted. So I left that up to judge.
I watched it, and the game has a nice art style. The backgrounds are nice, and the character designs are nice, but I don't know if they're really on the up and up, because there's a genie dressed in a schoolgirl uniform. I don't know if you knew this. That's something called a fetish to certain people, Chris. I don't mean to go too blue here, but
you're telling me there's people with Shantae fetishes out there.
It certainly seems like it. I don't know if that was the impetus for this game being ran. It's like, I don't know. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. If you're into this sort of thing, you could give it a watch. The guy kept talking about the risky shuffle, and he hasn't explained what it was. I assumed it was like the Super Bowl shuffle. Pause for laughter.
Cool. It seemed all right. It was nice to see. It's nice to see something that isn't Mario. You know.
True.
Right. And it was over fast, an hour. We're considering an hour fast at this point, right?
Yes. And speaking of games that aren't like other games, Freedom Planet is a lot like Sega, the Sonic.
Hold on. Let me go back to my notes. On the panel before SGDQ started, the panel guy promised us that we'll be blown away by Freedom Planet. So I didn't watch it. What did you think of Freedom Planet, Judge?
I gave this one a 3 stars too. It was nice to see something new, and it was one of those games that is understandable to the layman. I've never played Freedom Planet, but I've, even if you haven't even seen Sonic, what are you, living in a rock?
Mm-hmm.
Do you live inside the rock, not under it?
Or the Mystic Cave?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good, understandable video game metaphor. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a game that's understandable to the layman. And if you're curious about that game, you could give it a watch and be like, oh yes, the art style is pretty on point, or on fleek, as the speedrunners say, to what a Sega Genesis game would look like at that time. They're like a lot of the ball enemies, like a guy who's made out of like several balls, like from Gunstar Heroes and stuff.
I'm looking at the screenshot you got here.
Mm-hmm.
What's with the sword?
The next game is Toho.
All right, Toho, the fabled Toho.
This is the Toho block.
Now this is all in the middle of the day on Wednesday.
No, this is like at 4 a.m., I believe.
Oh, you're burning the midnight oil watching these.
Yeah, I set my alarm for 4 a.m. and I'm like, for the Toho block. And I had my bacon cooking, and I'm like eating it, like epic bacon for the win. But I watched this. They posted a video on demand.
Okay.
And this Toho thing was a highlight from SGDQ. I touched on it earlier, but it was a bunch of creepy Scandinavian guys hunched around a computer screen playing really bad ROM hack with a busty anime babe filling in for Mario. That was SGDQ. These guys were a lot less creepy, so I was just kind of left watching a dull platformer.
Which sounds boring. They probably got the same note that Crash Bandicoot guy got, but they actually adhered to it, which was family friendly, folks.
That could have been. There was an anonymous 2,900 donation during this run, and I read, whatever floats your boat.
This guy's been sitting on Toho waiting to donate his $3,000.
That's some cheddar, as they say.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of bones for sure.
These guys were very cocky about how well coded the Toho games are, but like, I kind of made the analogy to how I imagine the inventor of Tic-Tac-Toe is like really impressed at how bulletproof his game design is too, because like these games are like really, really simple.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, looking at the screenshot, it looks like a Game Maker game. No offense to Toho and his fans, her fans. Who's Toho?
I don't know. It seems to be like some sort of genre of games that involve like a witch, an anime witch, and like
it's probably an anime. Someone's getting fired up writing us an email right now. They
span the genres, right? So there's like a Toho that's a Super Mario World ROM hack. There's a Toho that is an RPG Maker game. It's a breadth.
Listen, you're selling it to me.
Okay.
I want to be part of this world. This sounds exciting. Like this exclusive club. It's like a subculture within a subculture on top of it with the speedrunning part of it.
You're like yo-ho Toho.
Yeah. Is that what they say? Is that a catchphrase they have?
No, but it should be.
That sounds good. Put it on a shirt. Print it. All right, what's next?
All right, so the next one, this is going to be a lightning round. Fallout 3. The guy running the game was clearly annoyed that the winning file name for his game was Toho Hijack. So he derisively wrote an XD at the end of it and deleted it and thanked the chat. I gave this action -1 star. I didn't like him being derisive towards the Toho people.
Yeah, you're a Toho head now. You've been converted.
This is what I say. I say, yo-ho Toho.
Exactly. All right, what's next?
The next one was, let's go to Majora's Mask, because this one I got a lot on my chest.
This
was Majora's Mask by No You Fozzie. Why don't you start us off, because I think we're going to have contrasting opinions about this run.
I was watching this while cooking and eating. It starts off strong with this is the hardest part of the game. This is the hardest part of the game joke. Right out of the gate.
Well, even before that gate, right out of the gate, the runner starts off by saying, the game is good, but totally broken, and that the developers added wrong warps. No time to explain what a wrong warp is. The run is only 2 hours long.
My next note says the runner is doing a good job of explaining the differences in the remake as opposed to the old game.
No, he wasn't. He didn't say anything.
He was.
He was silent for 90% of the dang run.
No, that was the dang couch. They were giving him no help.
Oh, those guys were dead weight for sure. They couldn't even. Oh.
But you got it on the screen. So look at the runner is on the right. The guys on the couch are on the main shot, right? They did not talk the entire run.
Nope.
They did not talk. I was eating it up. I think this is the point. So if the guy singing the song was me, the cracks forming, this was the point where I went off the deep end, like when Jack Nicholson busts through the wall and says, "Here's Johnny." I lost it here.
You lost.
I got some type of Stockholm syndrome. So there's a part where the Zora dies in Majora's Mask, and he said usually during this cutscene I like to play Tim Wilson's booty song. Don't ask me why. It's just a thing I do. It's just a thing I do. But I can't do that, so I'm going to do shout-outs. And he starts to give shout-outs to these screen names for like 10 minutes.
I was so upset about that because this guy's taking the time to explain an inside joke from a donator, but he's remaining mostly silent for everything else.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. It's nice to him to have the back of his loyal followers. You know, shout-outs to his homies, as he said.
Buddy, they're there to raise money for charity, not to give shout-outs to their inside jokes and be like, oh, yeah, this guy's always in my stream and he says Kappa.
I like a guy that appreciates the people that put him there. So moving on. He at one point says, I have a lot of like quotes from him. I'm sorry. He says, he's flipping around a boss. He says, also on the front side, we see the boss's butt. So why not? I got a genuine laugh from that when he said boss's butt. And then
the boss was wearing a thong for some reason.
He explained that he, without realizing, sometimes talks in French. So let him know if he's ever talking in French, because he does. It's basically a second language, and he does it by accident. Sometimes he slips into it. They're doing the run in French, and that's what brings us about, you know, because the text scrolls faster or whatever.
The French game translation, I guess. They set the game to be on French for all the text.
Yeah, exactly. And so he might slip into French, which he never did, to my knowledge.
Hell, he barely talked. I take English, French, German, South African, whatever, dude.
And hell, the guys on the couch didn't talk at all.
Yeah, hell.
So they're not helping him out. And what happened was he started to lose track of the days he was on in Majora's Mask. And Majora's Mask has the game mechanic where you move the days backwards, right? He said at one point, I'm pretty sure I'm on the 4th day. I was losing. I'm like, this is great stuff. Nobody knows which way is up or down. He's losing 5 minutes every time he warps by accident.
He was doing some sort of warp involving pouring hot water on the ground, and it does like a buffer overflow. And so the game thinks you're on a higher day than is actually possible during a non-broken run. And I had to raise a little bit of an issue when they call these games broken, right? Because the speedrunning community, they have endless amounts of time to just like play the same game over and over and over again, and they have like the taskbot helping them discover like frame perfect tricks and like that. It's like
he's like the producer in the music studio behind the board. The taskbot.
You can't call a game broken just because their QA team, they had a deadline of 1 year to make this game, and the QA team had to find just enough bugs to like make it work. It's just a little bit of perspective that gets my goat a little bit.
Right. They have jobs. Like, I assume they're mostly doing their jobs. And they don't want to lose their jobs.
This game like doesn't crash or anything like that. It's like, oh, well, if you do like these incredibly arbitrary sets of things, you could make it overflow. And we only discovered this by spending a cumulative 20,000 hours to figure it out. I mean, how is the game broken for that?
Yeah. It's like, if you break your leg, just being able to walk again is a feat, an accomplishment. We should pay more respect to these developers and QA teams.
I agree, and that leads into one of the donations that came in during this run, and it was from a developer, not from this game, but just a developer, a software developer. He says watching GDQs makes them happy. And I asked myself, why? Because the runners just insult you the whole time. And they're like, oh, the programmers didn't do this and that. Like, I would hate it if I were a programmer and somebody played my game like, this is made by some idiot named Judge Reinhold who didn't QA this game for 20,000 hours.
Maybe the developers are happy because they like to see that these runners are finding the easiest parts in the game challenging. And they know they made a good, challenging game when they see the first Goomba and they say this is the hardest part of the game.
These developers don't understand sarcasm.
Right, yeah, exactly. So back to the Majora's Mask guy.
Yes,
he's
sir.
all over the place. I said he's maintaining a cool demeanor. His hype level went to 5 out of 10 to start and stayed there.
Oh, he was a flatliner for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like 2.5 hours. And I said, part of me really likes this Fozzie guy. I feel like he's like a few degrees off from being a guy I would subscribe to. You know what I mean? And he doesn't get too worked up. He maintains this demeanor, like I said. And he made a joke about a butt. You know, he was scared when he was ruining his run. He sometimes starts talking in French.
At one point, his Nintendo DS ran out of juice, so they asked the audience if anyone had a charger. And this is really the first time I was able to confirm that the people on the couch were not, in fact, corpses. But the guy offered to go up to his hotel room, the guy on the far left, if you're looking at the stream right now. But there was somebody in the crowd who came up with a charger and like walked up to the screen, and that guy must have felt like a hero. And he was!
He was a real hero.
He was.
That
great.
boy had become a man, a la Link.
Well, he doesn't do that in this game, but I understand the metaphor because I understand video games.
You only know video game things. So his stream went off the rails for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part where the Goron, right?
Right.
They're reading donations. This is a good part to read donations, and the Goron is just screaming in the background.
Can you like approximate what it sounded like?
Yeah. So they're like, we have a $10 donation here from WikiLinks 28. Love the stream, guys, and the Goron's going like the whole time in the background, like drowning out the donation reading guy. I was like crying, laughing. Right, I was having a good time. And then, like, I cannot stress how the camera set up with the two guys, like, that look like they're sleeping on the couch is playing into this madness. And it just, I was entertained as heck. And then the guy running is bombing his run.
Yeah, he had a problem with, like, doing this skip where he had to, like, dump hot water on the ground. And it somehow, like, makes him fall through the world into, like, the final dungeon he wants to go to. And it cost him about, like, 15 minutes. And I have a note here. And I said, I'm talking to Chris while we watch this one live. He is over the moon for this run. The moon with a face trying to crash on the Goron, dumping hot water incorrectly.
So he he was getting so mad that he kept messing it up. He kept messing up. And I said, hey, buddy, you know what? Life isn't like Majora's Mask. We can't rewind time. We've all had a bad day. We've all bombed.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a life lesson for everybody.
Right.
This is towards the end. He mentions that there's a bad French translation in one of the text boxes, but he's skipping them as quickly as he can. But like the joke to him is that he's the only one who could read French, and I never thought I'd see the day where somebody who spoke French was arrogant.
I was worried he was going to accidentally start reading them because he does that sometimes.
He was fine. He was fine.
I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5.
I gave this a -2 stars.
I was entertained as heck, man.